There's this thing that those of us who are not on the inside, aren't officers, often hear about, that blue wall of silence. And so there's plenty of good police officers, people in law enforcement like you who show up every day, risk their lives, want to do the right thing. But for those who aren't good, who are bad cops, why is it that it's not just anecdotal? There is this protection and wrapping of the arms around these bad officers that really give the force a bad name and terrorize, domestically terrorize their communities.
Honestly, there is no acceptable answer that I can provide for you. What I can tell you, though, is that in this profession, much like in many other professions, um, that people are they are, again, believing in what they do, standing shoulder to shoulder every day, doing the job. And I'm speaking to the good officers. And what I'll tell you is what I tend to akin those who choose to be complicit in the negative actions, the criminal actions of their partners or of their colleagues, to me are just as bad. I see that no different in, someone who's out committing armed robbery and there's someone driving the car. The person
Mm-hmm.
driving is just as bad
Hmm.
as the person committing the crime. And so I see that, to me, the same applies to law enforcement officers who know that their colleagues are engaging in mistreatment of other people. And it doesn't even have to rise to the level of what happened to George Floyd. In any way, any type of mistreatment, to me, is criminal, and that person is just as complicit in doing it as the individual who's actually committing the act. So I'll tell you this, that while I do believe that there are some law enforcement officers in agencies across our nation that will cover up or not report or intervene as they should, and that is wrong. I I do believe, though, that again, for the most part, most officers are going to do the right thing. And I also have to say that in my opinion, that most officers who are out here giving it everything they have every day despise those that we see tarnishing
Hmm.
the oath and the badge.
Before we let you go, Chief,
Boy, Chief, yeah.
a couple of things, yeah, that we feel like could make it better. Obviously, it could be better training. It can be policing your own neighborhoods. I think black officers should be in their own neighborhoods sometimes because they understand the neighborhood. And as you just mentioned, accountability. And of course, we got the George Floyd issue that's going on, the Derek Chauvin trial that's happening right now. The impact, the outcome of that trial, one way or the other, what kind of effect do you think it'll have on police, and especially if Chauvin is convicted? Do you think that could be the deterrence that is needed so that police officers who are bad cops will think, or at least think before they jump into action when it comes to doing something terrible like Chauvin did?
So I think that people, law enforcement and non-law enforcement, are definitely paying attention, and I think it will have an effect. But to me, it's troublesome if that's what it takes for there to be an effect on law enforcement across the board. A lot of, uh, in my opinion, we need to get to piercing the hearts of those that are involved in this profession. It's not easy, but we know that walking through the door. And I would like to believe, I'd like to see a day where all police officers embody this thought, and that is, I tell my team all the time, I tell my community all the time, when you see a person in uniform, a law enforcement officer in uniform, what you see is someone, without ever opening their mouths, tell you that they love you. And the reason I say that is because I believe officers raise their hand and take an oath to protect and serve, which says, as I mentioned earlier, that they will give up their lives to save yours. And to me, what greater love is there? And so in this particular situation, while I don't believe that it should be the outcome of this case that changes the behaviors that we've seen, the negative behaviors. I think that we have to work harder as law enforcement officers, as community members, as nonprofit organizations to work together to make sure that A, we are selecting the right people to carry this badge, and that B, that we are working together to constantly find ways, not just law enforcement training, but training around how we treat each other, how we talk to each other. You know, we are
Amen.
seeing it every day at how people were just downright disrespectful to women or people of color, and it was acceptable, and we see it, and others. And I think sometimes that makes people think it's okay, and it's not.
Yeah, Chief. Boy, I felt like we had church this morning, and you're right.
Yes.
All about humanity.
Thank you.
We salute you. Thank you for what you do.
Yes.
Police Chief Catrina Thompson. You're welcome back anytime, right here on Start Your Day. We're right back.
Thanks for making a difference.